Lesson 4.8, multiplying decimals. In this lesson, we'll continue to practice problems where both factors are decimals, and we are essentially counting the number of place values that we're pushing the decimal point out all together, solving it using the same multiplication steps that we are familiar with from whole number multiplication, but then remembering to come back in that same number of places to reinsert a decimal point at the end. Towards the bottom of this page, we'll also review 3 of the fundamental multiplication properties in math that we have seen before. Let's get started. We'll focus on, for the most part, the odds only. Number 1, 1 6/10 multiplied by 9 8/10. Count our pushes. Whoop, whoop. 2 pushes allows us to clear out the decimal points. Now we can solve as if this is 16 multiplied by 98. First row, 8 times 6 is 48. The 8 comes down, the 4 gets carried. 8 times 1 is 8, plus the 4 is 12. First row is complete. Add my 0 placeholder. Second row, 9 times 6 is 54. 4 comes down. 5 gets carried. 9 times 1 is 9, plus the 5 is 14. Add up our columns. Now come in 2 places from the end. Pew, pew! We get a final answer of 15 6800ths. Number 3. Let's clear out our decimal points. Whoop, whoop, whoop. 3 pushes all together. We'll do the trick. Solve this as if it's 31 multiplied by 17. 7 times 1 is 7. 7 times 3 is 21. 0 placeholder. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 3 is 3. Add up our columns. Come in 3 places from the end. Pew, pew, pew. 527 thousandths. Number 5. 2/10 multiplied by 1 82/100. Clear out our decimal point. Whoop, whoop, whoop. 2 multiplied by 182, I'm going to flip-flop those to put the larger number on top. Noting that I will need to come back at the end 3 places to insert the decimal point. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 8 is 16. 2 times 1 is 2, plus the 1 is 3. Come in 3 places. Pew, pew, pew. 364 thousandths. 6 2/10 multiplied by 5 3/10. Whoop, whoop. 2 pushes. We'll do the job. First row is 62 times 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 6 is 18. Second row, put the 0 placeholder down. 5 times 2 is 10. 0 comes down, 1 gets carried. 5 times 6 is 30, plus the 1 is 31. Add up my columns. Come in from the end 2 places. Pew, pew. 32 8600ths. Number 9, 1100ths multiplied by 2 4/10. Clear out my decimal point. Whoop, whoop, whoop. 3 pushes all together. First row, 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 1 is 4. Second row, put the 0 placeholder down. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 1 again is 2. Add up my columns. 4 and 0 is 4. 4 and 2 is 6. The 2 comes down. And then we're coming in from the end 3 places. Pew, pew, pew. 264 thousandths. Number 11. Let's clear the decimal points out. Whoop, whoop. 2 pushes will do it. Now we're dealing with 74 times 33. First row, 3 times 4 is 12. 2 comes down, 1 gets carried. 3 times 7 is 21, plus the 1 is 22. Second row, put that 0 placeholder down. 3 times 4 is 12. 2 comes down, 1 gets carried. 3 times 7 is 21, plus the 1 is 22. Add up my columns. And come in from the end, 2 place values. Pew, pew. 24 and 42 hundredths. Okay, for these next 2 problems, we'll do both of them. And this is a review, a blast from the past, if you will. It says complete and then name the property used. Okay, so this might work and it might not work, but I'm going to bring in a page from your yellow workbook that will come in handy here. These are the 3 properties, 3 fundamental multiplication properties that we have seen before and we are reviewing at this point of the lesson. The commutative property of multiplication basically says that if you're multiplying 2 factors, the order or the sequence doesn't matter. 2 times 3 is going to get you the same as 3 times 2. You can reverse their order and you're still going to end up with the same answer. That's and I always forget if we say this as commutative, commutative. You guys will have to kind of research that and tell me the right way to pronounce that. The next property is called the associative property of multiplication. And in this example, the thing that's changing is the location of the parentheses. So all we're really saying here is that if you are multiplying, in this case, 3 factors together, A times B times C, you can regroup those factors in more than one way. Here we have surrounded A times B, so we'll do that step first and then multiply by C, but it's going to get us the same answer even if we were to surround B times C with parentheses and do that step first and then multiply by A. The only thing changing here is where the parentheses are located, what I'm grouping, what I'm doing first. Finally, the distributive property. In this example, on the left-hand side of the equal sign, you see we have 3 operations: multiplication, addition, multiplication. On the right-hand side, what has changed? Well, on the right-hand side, we just have 2 operations. So in a way, we've done some regrouping to simplify our work. What this is saying is if you have a case where you're taking the same number, A, and multiplying it by 2 different numbers, A times B plus A times C, you can do some regrouping. You can simply add up B and C together, and then whatever that sum is, multiply by A. So with that review, let's go back to your page and apply it. In 13, here's the equal sign. 3 and 8/10 multiplied by 4 and 1/10 plus 3 and 8/10 multiplied by 1 and 5/10. Does this look familiar? Notice that 3 and 8/10 appears twice, so I can just pull that 3 and 8/10 out, add up these 2 numbers, and then multiply that 1 time by 3 and 8/10. Instead of taking this part and multiplying it by 3/8, then taking this part and multiplying it by 3/8 and adding them together. This was called the distributive property. And then for 14, what is different? 4 times, in parentheses, 1 and 2 tenths times 7 and 9 tenths. Here, the only thing that's different is the location of the parentheses. On this side of the equal sign, the second and third factors are surrounded by parentheses. On this side of the equal sign, the first and second factors are surrounded by parentheses. This was called the associative property. And finally, we did odds, so let's finish up with this number 15 here. Carmen drinks 1 and 2/500 cups of water every hour. How much water does she drink in 6/10 of an hour? Okay, we're multiplying these two decimals together. 1, let's see, 1 and 2/500 times 6/10. Let's clear out the decimal points. Whoop, whoop, whoop. 3 pushes will do it. Solve it using 125 multiplied by 6. 6 times 5 is 30. 0 comes down, 3 gets carried. 6 times 2 is 12, plus the 3 is 15. 5 comes down, 1 gets carried. 6 times 1 is 6, plus the 1 is 7. Now come in from the end 3 places. Pew, pew, pew. And this is how much water she drinks in 6/10 of an hour. 750 thousandths of a cup.